Hiya! Welcome! So for the first time since doing vinyl community related videos here on YouTube, I've decided to do the annual New Year's Day vinyl tag. New Year's Day being when Rob Walker, the instigator of the tag, usually puts up his initial video. So Rob's been doing this for a few years now, or a couple of years at least, I don't know. He just takes it upon himself to organise 20 questions for members of the vinyl community. I wanted to do it last year, but I was going to make the excuse that I didn't have enough time. I always make time when there's a video I want to make. I just wasn't in the mood for doing it last year. But I'm in the mood for doing it this year. I think most of the questions, almost all of them, I've answered. Those that I haven't, that I've not answered, that's a choice I've made not to answer them. One thing that I didn't want to do for this is just hunt out tons of records and CDs and whatever else. I don't mind making that kind of effort when it's a contest entry, because you know, you've got a chance of winning something. The least you can do if someone's offering some sort of prize is to go away and dig some records out of your collection. But when it's a vinyl tag and there's so many questions, there's 20 different questions here. Sorry, Rob, but no, I'm just going to be sticking photos of what I've got up on screen. And if people don't believe that I've got them, then that's your tough shit. But you can check on my Discogs page if you don't believe me. I don't know if there's a link to that in the description. If there's not, there should be, but it's easy to find me on Discogs at Jimmy Barnes YT, I think. I need to double check that now. No, it's the Jimmy Barnes to add me as a friend on Discogs. Right, Rob, of course, we all know Rob Walker. Well, I think most of us who are watching this will know Rob Walker. There'll be non-VC members who'll be like, who's that? Well, if you just think of like your typical Manc kind of guy, I know he's from Oldham, but he reminds people, hey, I'm from Oldham, but I just tell people I'm from Manchester because no one knows where Oldham is. He's very proud of where he comes from, and rightly so. Manchester is the capital of the North, in my opinion. But then he thinks it's relevant that some artists he likes are like 30 miles away in Leeds or something. Like, you're probably living 20 miles away from Peter Sutcliffe, the Yorkshire Ripper, mate, but it's not really relevant to your life, is it? Anyway, in tribute to Rob, let's take our happy faces off and put on a sardonic scowl with this 20 question vinyl tag for 2024. I've written them all down. That took nearly as long as it would have done for me to actually find all this stuff. Number one, my favourite purchase of 2023. There was only one that I could pick here, and although I suppose technically it was a pledge rather than a purchase, to me that's one and the same thing. It was, of course, the one-of-a-kind Wet Sounds album by Vicky Bennett, better known as People Like Us. I did a video about it, and I'll no doubt mention that again later on in this video. Very expensive, the most expensive thing I've ever bought, certainly in relation to my music collection, but it's a one-of-a-kind piece, possibly two of a kind, as I get the feeling the record label / pressing plant who made it may have kept some sort of copy back for themselves, and it's, I suppose, vaguely possible that there'll be three, that Vicky might have got one for herself, but probably not. So I think there's either only one mine or two mine and the record companies in the world. Question 2. Rob says these are questions, but actually most of them are prompts, Rob. So get it right, bloody hell. That Borstal he went to back in the 1970s didn't teach him very good grammar, did it? Last purchase of 2023. Yeah, I've written down what this is. The thing is, though, because I've been filming videos to go up in advance, you know, into January, I've not actually shown it yet. In fact, actually this, I've not even filmed the records roundup that it's going to be on yet. So I'll put it on screen, but I'm going to blur it out, and if anyone can figure out from that what it is, then good for you. Give yourself a banana or something. Number 3, an artist who released 2 or more albums in 1 year. Now, I couldn't find anything for this year. I don't think it has to be an artist who released 2 albums in 2023. I'm saying this year. Last year now, 2023, because it's obviously 24 now. So I don't think it's necessarily anyone from 2023. So I picked Weezer, who released OK Human and Van Weezer, both in 2021. Of course, they did release 4 records in 23. The Seasons ones that were reissued on vinyl, and they originally came out on CD in 2022. But they're technically not classed as albums, they're technically EPs. While I'm choosing Weezer, I'm choosing 2 definite studio albums by them, not the Seasons EPs. Number 4, if you could only listen to music from one decade, what would it be? It was a toss-up between 2 decades for me here, and ultimately I came down on the side of the 90s, and the example I'll show is just an album that as soon as I put it on, it just takes me right back to the 90s and to my school days, and to really kind of relatively innocent, not dead innocent, you know, it is me after all, but relatively innocent times and exciting days. You know, my whole future was yet to be mapped out. And anything seemed possible, and I'm talking about Different Class by Pulp, one of the best albums of the 90s, and still Pulp's best album by a long chalk. Number 5, a record from an artist from Manchester, so Rob being a proud Manc, even though it's really Oldham, which no one's ever heard of. Of course, I love Manchester music. Well, not across the board, you know. There's some acts from Manchester. A 10cc from there. Not interested in 10cc. They don't do anything for me. But pick a record from a Manchester band. Well, I've got to mention them at least once in a video like this. So I'm going with my boys, my favourite band, New Order. And I'll pick an underrated album of theirs. One of my favourites that was a bit of a grower for me over the years. But it's now about my 3rd favourite New Order album of all time, and that is 2005's Waiting for the Siren's Call. On to number 6, and who did I listen to most in 2023? I think simply based on the last few months, certainly, it'll be In Strict Confidence. I'll put their most recent studio album, Hate to Love, on screen. Although they've released something called Mechanical Symphonies since then, which is excellent, by the way. They both are. But I don't class that as a studio album, even though I think everything is re-recorded. It's like a greatest hits reworked in an orchestral form. But anyway, In Strict Confidence, I saw them live, of course, as well. They're brilliant, and they're from Germany. Electro-industrial. There might be some people watching this who will have no idea. Well, go away and have a look and listen to them, but after you've watched this, of course. Number 7, show 7 7-inch singles. I did this where I managed to list my last 7 7-inch purchases, and it is Now and Then by the Beatles, Little Lies and Songbird by The Cause, Bubblegum by Cigarettes After Sex, Suede's Metal Mickey on picture disc, The Drowners by Suede on picture disc, the reissue on white 7-inch of Du Hast by Rammstein, and lastly Lindemann's Ich weiß es nicht. They were my last 7 7-inch 45 RPM singles that I purchased. Question 8. Who's coming to your party? You need to invite 4 guests to a dinner party here, so they've got to be music related. Mine are Jonathan King, Noel Edmonds, Cliff Richard, and I've cheated a little bit here, as it's technically 2 of them, but they're brothers, and they seem to shit out the one arsehole anyway. So the Fairbrass brothers from Right Said Fred. So technically I got 5 there. But yeah, 5 people at that dinner party, but I'm going to lock them all in, and the food's all poisoned, so hopefully I'll get away with murdering 5 people I don't particularly like. Alright, number 9, a musician who passed away in 2023. I went with the Associates' Alan Rankin. He passed away on January the 3rd last year. And the album that I'm showing you is Sulk by the Associates, which I only picked up last year actually. It was a really good bargain on blue vinyl at HMV. Question 10. If you could only listen to music from one country, which country would it be? I think with a lot of people here, and I don't know, the only video of these I've watched so far at the time of me recording this is Rob's himself. I will have watched some more by the time this video comes out, because this isn't coming out straight away by any stretch. But a lot of people, I reckon, are going to be just picking their own country. I mean, Rob did. Yeah, well done, Rob. Very original, weren't it? You could have just picked another country, couldn't you? Because I don't even think it needs to be your favourite country. Just, you know, like pick one that you know you've got a lot of artists and material from. So I went with Germany. I mean, I'm into a lot of German acts. I mean, I've mentioned a couple already. The one I'll show you, though, is one I've not mentioned yet, and it's the German rapper Bushido and his album Black Friday, which I've got in a very nice box set form. I've been listening to quite a lot of Bushido this year, as well as In Strict Confidence. Just something about acts in Germany appealed to me. So yeah, Germany is my answer for that. Number 11, name 3 VC channels I discovered. I'm not going to answer this question particularly because there's been more than 3 and I don't really want to just pick 3 of them and then ignore the rest, and I'll probably have forgotten certain ones anyway. I watch so much and try and subscribe to people, at least those who I know watch me and support me. But I will show you who I unsubbed from on YouTube this year, and it's that pontificating, pretentious arsehole there. Number 12, show a record you bought as a teen. This was tricky actually, because pretty much everything that I originally had as a teenager, well, the majority was on CD, a little bit on vinyl, but I parted with it and then I just got it all back. Not all, but I got what I wanted back, you know, my new order stuff and bits and bobs of other things later on in life. But one that I did get, it was a mail order thing from an Adding record collector actually, and I've got, I can't remember if it's the copy that I had when I was a teenager or whether it's one that I've purchased since. I think, no, actually, no, it is the copy I got when I was a teenager, because I remember there was some particular writing on it I remember from, I don't know what year it was, like 93, 94 perhaps. And it was a single that actually come out over here in 1988 by Australia's Angry Anderson, and it was suddenly the wedding theme of Scott and Charlene from Neighbours. Yeah, so that's a definite teen pickup from me, although at that point in my life I would have had to have asked my mum to write a cheque to the record shop or whoever it was advertising in Record Collector. Actually thinking about it, if I was reading Record Collector at that point, it would have been probably at least late 95 if not 96, so yeah, 93, 94 is too early for that. But I was still a teenager until June 2000, so anyway, moving on. Number 13, show a funk or soul record. Well, this one, at least according to the Discogs listing, qualifies for both funk and soul, even though you think of this singer and you don't really associate her with those genres. But I'm going with Cameo by Dusty Springfield, which was a Record Store Day re-release in 2023, and a bloody good one as well. It's very soulful in places. I mean, I don't think you can deny that Dusty was a soul singer, albeit, you know, white soul. Funk is maybe a little bit more debatable, but it's still classed as a funk album as well as being soul and, you know, pop and maybe even easy listening as well on Discogs. Yeah, that's the one I'm going for. Dusty's Cameo. Question or prompt 14. A record everyone has, then a record nobody has. Well, I'm going to pick Sgt. Pepper by the Beatles because that's just playing it really safe. Who hasn't got that? I think Rob showed Rumours by Fleetwood Mac. I don't actually own that, Rob. That'll teach you for being smug as well as grumpy. But yeah, I've got a couple of versions of Sgt. Pepper. I've got one in the Beatles in Mono box set, and then also the 50th anniversary 2 CD reissue. That'll probably be the one that I'm putting on screen now. And a record nobody has. Well, it's one that came out in I think it was 2021, and it was his most recent album. I've not mentioned this artist in a while, but I have given him quite a lot of love and attention on this channel because he's a producer and an artist, a musician who I get really into, and I think he's brilliant. One of my favourite solo artists ever, really, and that's Picture Plane from Denver, Colorado, and his album Dopamine. Brilliant stuff, but just kind of under the radar, really. For most people in this country anyway, and probably most other countries come to that. Number 15, a release from a female artist in 2023. A little bit of a cheat this, because it's technically a reissue, but it came out last year, and it's the Box of Dreams box set from Enya. I'm a big Enya fan. What can I say? I think she's great. Completely unfashionable. Doesn't get any sort of universal acclaim or credit from, you know, your kind of cool members of the VC. And isn't it funny how the cool members of the VC are the ones who can't edit on their phones or cameras? Speaking of cameras, bloody hell, I hope someone bought Richard McCook a new one for Christmas, because he's been using that potato for way too long now, and it often, the volume fades on it without him even realising, and he has to put a little annotation on screen. Oh, you know, I only pull your leg in jest, Richard. I'm a big fan of Richard McCook, but please upgrade that potato for 2024. Number 16, favourite video made and favourite video watched in 2023. I'm not going to answer the favourite video watched. I watched so many videos, VC and non-VC. It would just be not impossible, but pretty difficult, and it'd be unfair, more importantly, to just single one out from someone above anything else. I'm sure there is videos that I've enjoyed more than others. That stands to reason, but I'm not going to get into it. That, for me, isn't really what the VC or a vinyl tag is about, to kind of slap each other on the back, really. I'd rather these questions talk about music that we like rather than anything relating to us personally. That's just the way I feel, Rob. Bear it in mind for 2025, will you? Because I know you're going to be doing it again. Well, no one else is going to do it, except that I've probably got all this ready in about August, and then I'm going to put this out early January 1st every year, so that if anyone else tries to do a vinyl tag with different questions, they'll look unoriginal compared to me, because I'm always in there first. But the favourite video I made a lot, probably too many, a lot of people might say, but you know, watch what you want, don't watch what you don't want to watch. But I'm going to go with what I mentioned in number 1, and I'm going to go with the male opening, the unboxing of Wet Sounds by People Like Us, because that was just a very special video to make, and I've never been excited for a purchase like I was for that one. I loved making that video. I don't think it's my best, just generally, but how it made me feel, it's certainly my favourite of the year. Number 17, a classic 1990s album. Well, I'm able to show a mini disc for the first time today, and this one is probably a little bit of an easy out, but I would have shown Different Class by Pulp for this. But I've already mentioned them and I didn't want to repeat, so I'm going to show What's the Story, Morning Glory on mini disc by the lads in Oasis. Number 18, choose a record cover in your collection you'd like to be a part of. I was thinking for a long time about this. I mean, I've got so many different records and albums, and a lot of the covers are memorable and iconic, and some are pretty awful, but I'm going to pick a record sleeve, a record cover that just looks of its time, but something that I really wish, you know, I really feel like I could just step into it and be a part of, and I'd feel good about it. And it's an album I've not owned for too long, and it's Absolutely by Madness, which I think was their second studio album. And it's, of course, and you'll see it on screen obviously, but it's the group Madness mugging for the camera as they stood outside, I think it's Chalk Farm tube station in London. That photo would have been taken 1980, maybe late 79 at the earliest, but I'm guessing it was taken in 1980. I don't know, I think London in 1980, I think it would have been an interesting kind of experience. I mean, obviously at that point I wouldn't even been born, unless the photo was taken after late June. I watched stuff like Minder and Only Fools and Horses, which is obviously 80s gritty working class London, and it looks such a different place to the kind of cleaned up and sort of sterilised and Russian oligarch ruled London that we have now. Just of its time, and not exactly brilliant cover, but just one that I would like to be a part of. If there was a magic way of doing it for me to step into and be a part of that pose outside Chalk Farm tube station with the Nutty Boys. Penultimate question is number 19, a record that feels like a greatest hits. I think Rob here really wanted this to be an album that you're so familiar with. It's just everything on it just is like a single, and it feels like a greatest hits even though it's a studio album. I went down a slightly different track here. I picked one that I'm not massively familiar with because I've only listened to it once so far, because I've not had it too long, but I do really need to listen to it again because it is absolutely brilliant, and that's why I chose it. And it is Liberator by Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, that originally came out in '93. I bought that this year, and one of my favourite pickups, and every song on it, just about, there might be an exception of one out of the whole album, every song on it sounds like it could have been a single, and a good single at that, not even like an average one. It's an album that even OMD fans who I know just don't tend to mention, and I know it's from a period where perhaps they weren't as critically received as they would have been, 10, 15 years previous. I think it's their masterpiece. I've got to listen to it again soon, when I can find some time in between listening to everything that I buy and everything that I've already got, blah blah blah. But Liberator by OMD, even if you only stream it, put that on and every song could have been a single. So that's why for me it's like a greatest hits, even though it's not, and people don't even really talk about Liberator as a classic OMD album, but for me it's the absolute dog's bollocks. And the final question or prompt, number 20, is an album that's now 50 years old in 2024. Of course, one released in 1974 originally. And the one I'm going for is Autobahn by the lads in Kraftwerk, another German act. I've given the Germans their due in this video here today. So thank you, Rob, for doing the vinyl tag again. I don't know why I'm thanking him really, because he was gonna do it. Like, I think he thinks it's his job now, and if he puts his video up early enough on January the 1st, then anyone who might want to do it is just not basically going to get a chance, really, are they? Little tip, anyone who thinks Rob's hogging this, schedule your video for something like December the 31st, 2024 at 11:59. I don't know, with time differences and stuff, it might be a bit iffy, but I'm happy enough with Rob doing this if he wants to. I mean, this is the first one I've participated in. Whether I'll do it again next year, no idea. Depends on the questions, depends on my mood. But Rob likes people to get involved in it. Hopefully this might mean a few people discover my channel who may not have done already. And if you have, any of you, higher, welcome. And please don't leave me because I've just been spouting a load of annoying crap for the last however long. Oh blimey, this video's gone on longer than I intended. Right, I'm going to forego all the usual bump and just say thank you for watching. Special thanks to my subscribers and patrons, and please will you join me again maybe next year for Rob Walker's, or perhaps he'll pass the baton to someone else, someone who might smile when it's not a leap year. Maybe we'll do it again next year, who knows, but I've got plenty of content coming out, so look out for that over the coming days, weeks, months and beyond, and I do hope you join me for that. Cheers everyone. See ya!